Welcome back to GMP Scenario, presented by PharmaContentLabs.com.
All right, let's jump right in. We're going to tackle a situation that I know gives people in GMP environments a major headache. What do you do when you're running a deviation investigation and people's stories just don't match up? This is more than just a little tricky. It's a super high-stakes problem that can put a whole batch and maybe even your company's reputation right on the line. So picture this, right? You're in QA, maybe you've just gotten your first cup of coffee and you're reading the initial statements for a new deviation. And something's not right. You've got two completely different versions of what happened, and there is just no way both of them can be true. You can feel the pressure starting to build already. And boom, here it is, the classic dilemma. On one hand, you have the operator, and they are swearing up and down, "I followed the procedure to the letter." But then you've got their supervisor, who is just as sure, saying, "Nope, they definitely deviated from the procedure." Both of them sound confident, but you can't have it both ways. Somebody's gonna be wrong. Oh, and to make it all just a little more stressful, this isn't some classroom exercise. The batch is already done. It's sitting there waiting for a disposition. The decision you make right now has immediate, very real consequences for that product and for how regulators are going to see your company. So this is the question that just landed on your desk with a thud. Who do you believe? Now, your gut might be pulling you in one direction, but let me tell you, in the world of GMP, going with your gut is one of the fastest ways to get into a world of trouble. This question, it's actually a trap, and we're about to see exactly why.
So how does a simple disagreement like this blow up into a massive regulatory problem? Well, it's because leaving this contradiction unresolved isn't just messy paperwork. To an inspector, it's a huge red flag that suggests your entire quality system might be broken.
You have to put on your inspector hat for a minute and ask the hard question. Can you actually close an investigation with two conflicting stories and still claim you're in a state of control? Can you really say you know what happened? The answer, I think you know, is a definite, hard no. And this really gets to the heart of it from a regulatory point of view. There's no gray area here. If your final report has these unresolved inconsistencies, you don't just have a weak investigation, you have a failed one. Period. Full stop.
So what do we really mean by investigation failure? Well, think of it this way. It's what happens when the story you're telling isn't anchored to hard, provable, objective facts. When you let people's statements just stand there on their own, without backing them up with real evidence, the whole investigation just loses all its credibility.
And this is where the dominoes start to fall, one right after the other. If your story is wrong, your root cause is just a guess. If your root cause is a guess, then your corrective actions, your CAPA, are probably pointless. And if you don't fix the real problem, it is absolutely 100% guaranteed to happen again. All of this just ends in one place, a total loss of inspector confidence in you.
Okay, I know that all sounds pretty dire, but here's the good news. There is a clear, really solid way to get out of this mess. It's all about making a fundamental shift in your mindset, away from the stories and towards the evidence.
And here's the process. It's actually beautifully simple. First things first, you have to stop treating what people say as the absolute truth. Think of statements as supporting clues, not the foundation. Second, you build your timeline of what happened using only objective, verifiable evidence. And then, and only then, as the very last step, you bring those human stories back into the picture and see how they line up with the facts you've already locked down.
So what's in this evidence toolkit? What are we even talking about? It's anything a system records without a person having to interpret it. Think about it. The operator says, "I was at station A at 10:05 a.m., but the electronic door access log shows they badged into the room for station B at 10:03 a.m. See that? That one little piece of data can completely resolve the conflict. Things like system logs, batch records, alarm histories, they don't have opinions. They don't have bad memories. They are your source of truth.
Now, once you've used the evidence to figure out what really happened, your job is to document it so well that nobody could ever question your conclusion. The goal is to create a report that's basically bulletproof, one that shows all your work and defends your final decision against any possible scrutiny.
A truly inspector-proof report has four essential parts. First, the chronology. That's the evidence-based timeline we just talked about. Second, you have to explicitly call out the discrepancies. Don't hide them. You want to highlight the fact that a statement didn't match the batch record. Third, you document exactly how you resolved it. For example, The operator's statement was found to be inaccurate based on the timestamp in the system log. And finally, your rationale, where you connect all the dots and explain how all that evidence leads to your final logical conclusion.
All right, let's get to our final section here. I want to talk about the single biggest mistake investigators make when they're faced with conflicting stories. It is a trap that is incredibly easy to fall into.
You know how it is, right? The pressure is on, deadlines are looming, and your boss is asking when that deviation is going to be closed. The temptation to just take a shortcut is immense, and there is one shortcut that's more common than any other.
And there it is, the path of least resistance. You just pick the story that's easier, the one that's simpler to explain, the one that requires less follow-up, or maybe the one that points the finger in a more convenient direction. Maybe it's the supervisor's story because they're in charge, or the operator's because it avoids a tough conversation. Either way, it's a decision based on convenience, not evidence.
And you absolutely have to understand this. Inspectors are trained to look for this exact shortcut. They can sniff it out from a mile away. They will scan your investigation specifically looking to see if you just took the easy answer. And when they find it, you better believe their scrutiny level on everything else you do just went to 100%.
So, we're going to end on this thought. If you take just one thing away today, let it be this simple principle. Evidence beats memory. Every single time. A person's memory can be fuzzy, it's subjective, it gets influenced by stress. Objective evidence? It's not. In any investigation, whenever you have a conflict, you have to let the evidence win. The real question isn't whose story do you believe? It's what does the evidence prove?
Thank you for watching. If this helped, like and subscribe. More GMP scenarios coming.